woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her, just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're going to dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced all night long.
Shabbat Shalom. It is so wonderful to be here all together tonight on this, the eve of the closing days of Pesach. I hope that everyone had really wonderful Passover Seders this past weekend, and that in whatever way, digitally or perhaps for a few of us in person, fully vaccinated, that you were able to join together with beloveds across space, across time zone. I want to invite you as you come in tonight to share your name, where you're joining us from this evening, so that we can build community a bit as we gather and we look around and we see who has joined us. We're going to begin our service this evening, which is in Sidur Kol HaNeshama, our Reconstructionist Sidur prayer book, which if you don't have it in hard copy, I'm going to put the link to the PDF in the chat. There we go. Sorry. Oh, hi, Marty. Hi, Carolyn. Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to be here tonight. And a big shout out, Carolyn's 5th and 6th grade Smile School class will be helping to lead our service next week. So next Friday night for our family service, which will begin at 7 rather than 7:30. Get excited. They have a lot prepared, and I'll talk a little about that during announcements at the end of the service. But take a second and pull up your Sidur, whether in hard copy or in PDF. Shabbat Shalom, Warren. It's great to see you tonight. Welcome, and welcome, Shelley. We're going to begin our Kabbalat Shabbat and Kabbalat Chag service on page 531. Oh, Shabbat Shalom, Rich. It's great to see your face here tonight. As we light our Shabbat and Yom Tov candles as we enter into these closing days of Pesach. Page 531. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu להדליק ner shel Shabbat v'yom tov. Yaina Yanai. Page 19. Dodili vani lo harohe bashoshanim. Dodili mizotola min hamidbar. Mizotola min hamidbar. Dodili, dodili, vani lo harohe bashoshanim. Dodili, mikuteret mor ulevona. Mikuteret mor ulevona. Dodili, dodili, vani lo harohe bashoshanim. Dodili libavtini achoti kala. Libavtini achoti kala. Dodili, dodili, vani lo harohe bashoshanim. Dodili uritzafon uvohiteman. Uritzafon uvohiteman. Dodili, dodili, vani lo harohe bashoshanim. Dodili. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. Dodili. Va'ani lo. Words from Shir Hashirim, the Song of Songs, which is traditionally read on the Shabbat of Pesach. This year, the Shabbat of Pesach is also the beginning of Yom Tov, the beginning of Yontif. As we begin to enter into these final days of Pesach, I know pizza and pasta, they're all on the horizon. Sunday night, it's coming. But as we re-enter festival time, as we come out of the week that has been and re-enter not just Shabbat for another week, but festival time, sacred time, this time of liberation, we enter it differently than perhaps we entered into it last Saturday night as we prepared for our first Seder. Because hearts rather, are spoken about differently at the beginning of Pesach and on the Shabbat of Pesach. At the beginning of Pesach, when do we talk about hearts? Right? We talk about the heart in hardening Pharaoh's heart, perhaps. Time and time again throughout the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of the Exodus from Egypt, we hear that God hardens Pharaoh's heart so that the 10 plagues can continue. Moses asking for liberation for the people, and Pharaoh thinking about it, and then God hardens Pharaoh's heart and does not let the people go. And so the next plague, or the next series of plagues, is able to unfold, thus building trust between God and the people, the Israelite slaves who would become, through this process, this journey of Yetziat Mitzrayim, of leaving Egypt, and then journeying towards Har Sinai, Mount Sinai, that crucible moment where a ragtag mixed multitude, an Erev Rav, becomes a people becomes the beginning of Am Yisrael, as we say, Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do it and we will hear it. As we receive the 10 Commandments or Revelation or Torah or however we understand that moment, but hearts show up in the Haggadah as something to be hardened or softened. But here, as we enter into the Shabbat of Pesach, which this year is, again, the second set, the closing days of festival, the Yontif of Passover, the heart is talked about differently as we read the Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim. The heart is not something to be hardened or softened at the whim of God, but rather something to be spoken about in the most beautiful lyric of poetry. I want to share a reflection from a feminist anthology on the Song of Songs from Alicia Ostreicher, from an article that she had published in A Feminist Companion to the Song of Songs. That the love celebrated in the Song of Songs may be understood as simultaneously natural and spiritual. It is no accident that every mystical tradition on earth speaks of God as the beloved, and that everyone in love sees the beloved's face and form as holy. If elsewhere we must divide the sacred from the secular, that division is annihilated in the Song of Songs. That if elsewhere we must divide the sacred from the secular, bein kodesh lechol, as we say at the end of Shabbat and festivals, between the sacred and the secular, then that division is annihilated in the Song of Songs. Whether an allegorical poem about the love between God and the people Israel, or a liturgical poem describing in sacred terms the love between human beings, the Song of Songs as something that welcomes us into the Shabbat of Pesach transforms the way we think about the lev, the heart. No longer something to be hardened or softened at the whim of that entity that has the most power in the narrative, in this case God, but rather something that we give and that we receive with freely as we enter into relationship with beloveds. And perhaps this is the essence of the teaching of liberation, that once we have passed through those seas, those waters, that we are able to love with an open heart, to receive love, and to engage in a way that allows us and our own hearts to make our own choices, no longer having our hearts hardened or softened in order to build trust, but now in mutual relationship with the divine. And so, as we sit here together, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, we turn with open hearts to our Kabbalat Chag service, page 535, the third musical selection. Hinne ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinne ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. Hinne ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. shevet achim gam yachad. Together on the bottom of page 557. Weeping is transformed into laughter, sadness into joy. When we turn to God, the promise is in the turning up of the wrinkles around our eyes and lips, turning around to try again, turning from closed to open, false to true, fearful to fearless, turning towards a wise innocence. And as we turn the corner towards these closing days of Pesach, from slavery to freedom, from narrowness to liberation, we turn with all the smile lines, the wrinkles of joy, as we smile with our eyes at one another in the streets, as we take a deep breath of that spring air through our masks, but smell the blooming blossoms of early spring. Here we are on the other side of that sea. As the days become longer, the sun becomes warmer. And we say Shabbat Shalom as we greet one another's faces. On Erev Chag, we don't sing our regular Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat because we're already in that sacred mode. But let us not forget to do a little Kabbalat Panim to welcome one another's faces. So Shabbat Shalom to Vivian, who's in Bluebell, and to John and everyone in Athens, Georgia. I can't wait to meet you guys in person someday. You'll have to come visit us in Philadelphia once we're all able to travel and back in person. Shabbat Shalom, Sharon and Stephen, and Shabbat Shalom to the Zangwills. And I already said Shabbat Shalom to Rich and to Warren and Shelley and Marty and Carolyn. It is so wonderful to be here all together tonight. And if you haven't taken a chance to introduce yourselves, please take a second and do so in the chat so that we can see who is here tonight as we join together in community. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat. Our psalm for Shabbat is on page 559. Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Lehagid baboker chastecha, Be'emunatcha balilot, Alei hasor ve'alei navel, Alei higayon bechinor. Mizmor shir lehom hashabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Ki semachthani Adonai b'fo'alecha, b'ma'aseh yadecha haranein. Magadlu ma'asecha Adonai, me'od amku machshevotecha. Mizmor shir lehom hashabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, Ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Top of the next page. Tzadik katamar yifrach, Kerez balevanon yiskeh, shetulim beveit Adonai, bechatrot Eloheinu yafrichu. Od yenuvun beseva, Teshenim vera'ananim yehu, Lehagid ki ashar Adonai tzuri, Velo avlatavo. Adonai malach Yehud lavish, lavish Adonai, Ozita Zahar, Avtikon Tevel, Baltimore. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד, לביתך נאווה קודש, אדוני לאורך ימים. We turn to page 563 as we rise in spirit or in body for Baruch Hu, and as we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. We take a second to wish a Shabbat Shalom to Lucy Raisman, who has just introduced herself in the chat. It's great to see you here tonight, Lucy. And to Sam and Debbie and Rebecca Kersner in Arlington, Virginia. We rise in spirit or in body for Baruch Hu. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. And the blessing gives us strength and makes our vision clear. And the blessing gives us peace and the courage to dare. As we bless the source of life, so we are blessed. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher bidvaro mariv aravim bechokma poteach sharim uvivuna mishanei itim. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech. Golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night. Umavir yom umehevi laila, umavdil ben yom uven laila. Adonai tzvaot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vaed. Baruch ata Adonai, Amari v'aravim. Page 569. Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Ahavta, Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, otanu limadeta. Al ken Adonai Eloheinu b'shochveinu, v'kumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגי יומם ולילה, נהגי יומם ולילה. ואהבתך לא תסור ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב Yisrael. Page 571, the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה אם שמוע תשמוע את אותי שנלכי מצווך אתם היום. We continue silently with one of the two biblical selections that follows. אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. As we turn to Micha Mocha on page 583 at the bottom, page 585, I want to mention, so we often talk about Nachshon ben Aminadav, the person who is credited with having stepped first into the sea, having the faith that the sea would part or that something would happen or that the miraculous would occur, right? Having the faith, the bravery, the strength, and then only at that moment did Moses raise up his staff and the sea parted. That God told Moses to split the sea. But I want to talk about somebody else who tradition teaches perhaps was also there as the sea parted. How many of you have heard of Serach bat Asher? So, this is one of my favorite people in all of Tanakh. She is one of those women who happens to be named in Tanakh, so already that's pretty cool. So Serach bat Asher, as her name would reveal, she is a daughter of Asher, and in fact, according to the genealogies around the time of the in the book of Genesis, she is in fact named as a daughter of Asher, the son of Jacob. In Genesis chapter 46, verse 17, it says, "And the sons of Asher, Imnah and Ishva and Ishvi and Beriah, and Serach their sister. And the sons of Beriah, Heber and Malchiel." Okay, so Serach, their sister, gets mentioned. So, big deal. She's mentioned, she's in this generation. But there is something amazing that we read in the Torah this week during Passover that happens at the sea. And it's not that the sea parted. Oh, thank you, Marty. Carolyn said, me. I've heard of Serach bat Asher. So Carolyn, I want you to type into the chat how old tradition teaches us Serach bat Asher was when she died. Anyway, so here we go. So something incredible happens at the sea, and it's not just that the sea parted. Before that, the text says that on the way to the sea, in addition to all of their belongings and the dough that didn't have time to rise, thank you, we enjoy matzah. Indeed, the original bone finder, you are so correct, that is where we're going. That they also bring with them the bones of Joseph, right? Right before Joseph dies, he tells his sons that, there will come a day when we will leave this place, and you should bring my bones up out of this place and bury me with my ancestors in the land of my forefathers, right? In Canaan. And so as Moses and the Israelites leave Egypt, they somehow remember that they need to bring the bones of Joseph. But how do they find the bones of Joseph? I mean, Moses, of all people, is completely unqualified to find the bones of the bones of Joseph, right? He was put in a basket and floated down the Nile as a little baby. He grew up in the palace. He didn't grow up learning the oral traditions and stories passed down from mother to child or father to child about, the wonderful and powerful Joseph who saved Egypt in this time of famine, and that one day a pharaoh arose who did not remember him and subjugated all of us and made us into slaves, and that someday we'll be redeemed. No, Moses is totally unqualified. But there's one person who is qualified to find the bones of Joseph and to know where they are. And so there is a midrash. So Sarah bat Asher, this woman who is named this daughter of Asher, who as the daughter of Asher is one of the people who goes down into Egypt with all of Joseph's brothers when they return after he reveals that in fact he is Joseph. Then they bring Jacob and they bring all of their families and they settle in the land of Goshen in Egypt, and there they become plentiful and they prosper and they multiply, and that's where the book of Exodus starts. So we arrive at this place at the shores of the sea, and in Tractate Sota in the Talmud, the Gemara asks, and from where did Moses our teacher know where Joseph was buried? The sages said, Sarah, the daughter of Asher, remained alone from that generation that initially descended to Egypt with Jacob. Moses went to her and said to her, do you know anything about where Joseph is buried? She said to him, the Egyptians fashioned a metal casket for him and set it in the Nile River so that its water would be blessed. Moses went and stood on the bank of the Nile, and he said to Joseph, Yosef, Yosef, the time has arrived about which the Holy One, blessed be God, took an oath saying that God will redeem you. And at the time of the fulfillment of that oath that you administered to the Jewish people, that they will bury you in Canaan, has arrived. If you show yourself, it is good. But if not, then you are broken from your oath. Joseph, Joseph. And immediately the casket of Joseph floated to the top of the water. Sarah bat Asher goes down in Jewish tradition as having a reputation for immortality. Not only did she, according to our midrash, soften the blow for her father Jacob when his sons returned to tell him that Joseph was alive so that he didn't have a heart attack. She played her harp as they told him the news, and she sang it in rhyming verse, the midrash teaches. so that he would be able to not go into too much of a shock, so he'd be able to digest that news that Joseph was still alive. He finds the bones of Moses, or I'm sorry, she finds the bones of I can't speak, the bones of Joseph, and helps Moses to locate them with an incantation from the bottom of the Nile. She is counted in the census in the wilderness decades later. And there are midrashim that see her through alive all the way to the book of 2 Samuel as a wise woman who transmits secrets to King David. And then perhaps my favorite tradition from a midrash in Psikta de Rav Kahana, where thousands of years later, maybe 1,000 years later, Rabbi Yochanan sat in the teacher's seat and expounded how the waters of the Red Sea became like a wall for Israel on either side. And even as Rabbi Yochanan was explaining that the wall of water looked like lattice work, Serach bat Asher looked down and grew angry and said, I was there, and the waters were rather like shining windows. That the rabbis imagine Serach bat Asher in the classroom of Rabbi Yochanan. Serach bat Asher, this immortal woman of Torah, who was there when we went down into Egypt, who was there when the sea parted, who was there as we wandered through the desert, who, unlike Moses, was there as we crossed into the land, who was perhaps there thousands of years later in the study hall of the rabbis, and who, at least one tradition of a Jewish community in Tunisia believed still lived among them until the 12th century, when they have a tradition that Serach bat Asher burned to death in a fire in the 12th century CE. And so as we sing Mi Chamocha and chant these words of Moses and Miriam leading the people in song on the shores of the sea, we think about all of those people in our mythic past who were there, our sacred and mythic memory of having all stood at Sinai, this immortal character of Serach bat Asher, this woman of mystery, of wisdom, of the transmission of secrets. And we sing these words of liberation that are timeless because they speak of the hope that each generation holds as we move from narrowness to expansiveness. And all of this is held in this nexus of space-time as we enter into these closing days of Pesach. Page 583. Umalchuto beratzon kiblu alehem Moshe uMiriam uvnei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabah ve'ameru kulam mi chamocha mi chamocha hoy mi chamocha mi chamocha mi chamocha mi chamocha b'helim Adonai mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, mi kamocha, nedar v'kodesh, nora tehilo tosei, fele nora tehilo tosei, fele malchutecha ravanecha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe ze Eli anu ve'ameru Adonai yimloch leholam va'ed Adonai yimloch leholam va'ed v'nemar כיפד אדוני את יעקב, וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Page 587. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Sukkot Shalomecha. ושמור צאתנו בואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ועל ירושלים. Page 591, and we rise in spirit or in body for ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וידבר משה את מועדי אדוני אל בני Israel. Moses proclaimed the festivals of the enduring one to Bnei Israel. And with those words, we enter the gateway not only of Shabbat, but also of festive time, these closing days of Pesach. We turn to page 597 to the silent Amidah for Erev Shabbat and also Erev Yom Tov. There is an insertion here for festival days, Ya'alev, Yavo, and a few other places. Follow along, at your own pace, in your own way, with our traditional liturgy in Hebrew and English, and the commentary, the prayers of your own hearts, as we enter into both Shabbat and the closing days of Pesach. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Open my lips, beloved one, and let my mouth declare your praise. Baruch. מכלכל חיים בחסד. זמן חירותי יהבני בר קודש זכר ליציאת מצרים ויבותינו יעלה ויבוא ויגיע
Shalom, shalom, bibromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom, shalom, bibromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen, amen, amen. Oseh shalom, shalom, bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Oseh shalom, shalom, bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru amen. Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
I thank the Or Hadash Makela for their beautiful voices and lending them to us and enhancing the beauty of our davening, even throughout this pandemic, as they have each month created a new recording. This month, or I guess this past month, Oseh Shalom, and in time for our Yom HaShoah program, not this coming Sunday, but a week from Sunday morning, Eli, Eli. And so we say a big Yesher Koach and a Kol HaKavod to our Or Hadash Makela, continuing to sing together remotely throughout the pandemic, and to our wonderful choir director, Josh McHugh, not only for his tremendous leadership and musicality, but also for his technical prowess as digital sound mixer for the Makela throughout this year. We turn from our prayer for peace to our prayer for healing and wholeness, our Mishaberach L'cholim. And I'm going to read the names of those whom we're thinking of for healing tonight. And if there's someone for whom you are hoping to send thoughts and prayers and hopes and vibes of healing and wholeness, I want to invite you to share their names in the chat so that we can call them all to mind and to heart as we join in our Misha Berach L'cholim.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
This week we're thinking of and sending our hope and our energy for healing and wholeness to Andrea Abrams Herbert, James Alberts, Roberta Archibald, Arden Bell, Barry Bell, Carol Mueller Bell, Rabbi Deborah Bowen, Bill Conrad, Robin Cupo, Francesca Deaver, Faye Fishman, Brian and Joan Flaherty, Eric Gershman, Jonathan Giannini, Patrick Gibson, George and Gail Glansberg, Hal Goodman, Talia Gottesman, Barbara Granger, Ed Grimes, Alberta Hall, Cordula Hamish, Peter Hoagland, Chava Hurley, Michelle Kalish, Sharon Cass, Beverly and Howard Kaufman, Fran Kaufman, Elsie Lieberstein, Len McEwen, Robert Mueller, Anthony Nero, Lisa Nicholson, Riley and Thomas Pablo, Stan Pollock, Abby Rosenberg, Mike Rosenberg, Shelley Sanders, Willie Schneer, Bertha Schwartz, Margaret Steiber, Lloyd Suter, Lynn Van Engel, Isabel Vita, Stan Weckstein, Millie Weissman, Grace Zangwill, Eileen Zeff, Jenna Young, Eric Griffin Shelley, June Powell, Frankie Deaver, Andy Zangwill, Grace Zangwill, Fran Kaufman, Debbie Hoffman, Rosine Paul, Jean Horowitz, Bobby Olchin, Barbara Krugman, Tom Coral, and Evelyn and her family, and Jake and his family, Bina Sklover-Kersner, and all of those who are recovering from COVID-19, and Dorothy Berlin.
Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We turn from our prayer for healing and wholeness to our kiddush, our kiddush, where our cup overflows with the sweetness of wine or grape juice, and also the sweetness of simcha, of joyful times. And so if there's anyone here who's celebrating a simcha, I want to invite you to type it out in the chat so we can shout it out and give a l'chaim as we raise our glass for kiddush. And hold on one second, let me see. Is there a kiddush helper in the house? No. No kiddush helper in the house. Our kiddush helper is otherwise indisposed. Oh, our kiddush helper is coming. And so if anyone has a simcha to shout out as we rise in spirit or in body for Kiddush, I want to invite you to type it into the chat, and we'll raise up our glass for our festival Kiddush. Kiddush helper. Savri Chavirai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher karanu lavodato v'romanu b'kedushato v'kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava. Shabbatot l'menucha, moadim l'simcha, chagim uzminim l'sason, et yom ha-shabbat hazeh, ve'et yom hamatzot hazeh, ve'et chag hamatzot hazeh, zman cherutenu, be'ahava mikra kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim, ki eleinu karata ve'otanu kidashta lavodatecha, ושבת ומועדי קודשך באהבה וברצון, בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת וישראל והזמנים. L'chaim! How's that grape juice today? Is it good? Is it refreshing? Is it delicious? Oh, good. Oh, and I want to give a shout out, a happy birthday to Maddox, who's turning 12 today. That's Sharon and Steve's grandson. Happy birthday, Maddox. Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. And I don't know what the equivalent is for YouTube, but when we're on that other platform, we've been saying, skip around the Zoom, we won't, yeah, anyway. So, Maddox, happy 12th birthday, Mazel Tov. And so we turn together to page 674 as we count the Omer. And do we have any Homers on today? We are going to count the Homer. No? Yes? And also, I want to give a big shout out to the Zangwills, who are going to be counting the Omer on behalf of Or Hadash tonight and for tomorrow. Watch our YouTube channel for their Omer counting video. And we count the Omer, the days between Passover and Shavuot. And yesterday we counted 5 days. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer hayom shisha yamim la'omer. Today is 6 days of the Omer. Hi, Shelly and Guy. Shabbat Shalom. And we'll turn to Aleinu. Which is on page 121. Aleinu l'shavech l'adon hakol l'teit gedula liotzer v'reishit shenatan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tocheinu v'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu notesh ma v'yosed aretz u'moshe v'yirush. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. We can be seated. And as we turn in our Siddur to page 131 for Kaddish Yatom, for Mourner's Kaddish, we turn in our hearts and in our memories to those who we've loved and lost, who've passed in recent days and weeks. The period of Shloshim, the month following the passing of David Reisman, concludes either just has concluded today or concludes at the end of this Shabbat. And we send our condolences, our deep, heartfelt condolences to Lucy and their whole family. We're in a period of Shloshim, the month following the passing of Sonia Frischkin-Zangwill, sister-in-law of Len and Stephanie Zangwill, David's aunt. And also in Shloshim, the month following the passing of Ellen Stewerman, wife of Manny Stewerman, and we send both the Zangwills and the Stewermans our deepest condolences as we honor Sonia and Ellen's and David's memories with Kaddish, along with those whose yortzites we observe this Shabbat. And if there are others for whom you're saying Kaddish, I want to invite you to share their names in the chat, those whose memories we're remembering. And this week we mark the yortzites, the anniversaries of the passing of Martin L. Press, father of Sharon Starr, Edith Pfeffer, sister of Betty Kahn, Robert Nathan, father of Joan Nathan, Ellen Gray Whipple, sister of Debbie Lamb, Henry Crespi, father of Jackie Steinberg and Scott Crespi, W.O. Castor, grandfather of Suzanne Castor, Sid I. Altman, husband of Barbara Altman, Margaret Marmion, mother of Jim Marmion, Nathan Savitsky, father of Marty Savitsky, Leo Vine, father of Marlene Ross, Harold Young, father of Warren Young, grandfather of Mackenzie Learn, and Margaret Lamb, mother of Debbie Lamb. And if there are others who are remembering someone this week, this is Don and Sonia Zangwill and Michael Kaufman. I want to invite mourners and those observing a yortzeit to rise in spirit or in body for Mourner's Kaddish, along with those whose tradition it is to rise for Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemeh rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen, yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shemeh tekudsha brichu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru amen. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be a blessing for all of us. And we're also saying Kaddish tonight. Carolyn is saying Kaddish for her father, Don Wolf, still within the 11 months since his passing. So Shabbat Shalom, everyone. What a wonderful thing it is to all be here together tonight across geography, across time, across perhaps some time zones tonight. Although I think we're actually a mostly local crowd tonight. We've got some Georgia, but mostly we've got, and we have some Northern Virginia, and a lot of Philadelphia and Philly suburbs. And so it's great to all be here together tonight. Just a couple of quick messages and announcements. Tomorrow morning, our Shabbat morning Torah study begins at 9 a.m. Service is at 10 a.m. And the 10 a.m. service will include, because it's the ending days of Passover, Yisker following the Torah service. And so if you are someone who typically attends Yisker on festivals, or someone who's experienced a loss in the past year and are looking for another way to mark it, or who's feeling a loss particularly acutely right now, we'll have a brief Yisker service following the Torah service tomorrow morning, probably around 11:30 or so. That will begin. Next week at Or Hadash is a wonderful and robust big week. There is no Smile School on Sunday, this coming Sunday the 4th. It is still spring break because it is still Passover. It is also Easter Sunday, and so happy Easter to all of those who celebrate, either yourselves or in a way that makes family celebrations of Easter more special and sacred to your family. Tuesday night will be our healing service. Please watch the daily links for the link for that. And if you do not receive the daily links email, please contact Nadine in the office at orhadash.com, and she will make sure that you are on the list for daily links, or that you have the ability to join Or Hadash either as a local member or as an out-of-town digital subscriber, if that is a step that you are ready for, and we look forward to welcoming you into community. Wednesday evening, the 7th, is our 12-step Chavurah. Please also watch the daily links for that link, as well as for more information in our HaKesher weekly newsletter, or contact Eileen Jaffe or Rich Davis for more information about that. This coming Friday night is our First Friday family service. But isn't the second a First Friday, you might ask? It is, but it's also spring break for our families. So our First Friday family service will actually be next Friday, the 9th, starting with Tat Shabbat, which will be hybrid in person, Tat Shabbat in the lot. Each family, please bring your own picnic dinner. We're going to be eating dinner before Tat Shabbat for about 5:30 to 6. We are going to all be on our own blankets, and everyone of all ages and stages needs to be wearing a mask. We'll continue on Zoom with our community candle lighting, and then on Zoom live streamed to YouTube. No in-person component to either candle lighting or our family service at 7 p.m. That will be right here, starting at 6:30 for candle lighting, 7 o'clock for the service. And we are thrilled that next week our family service will be co-led by the 5th and 6th graders in our Kita Hey Vav class taught by Carolyn Savitsky. And they have prepared some incredible reflections and interpretations of tefillot to share for in our service, which they are branding TikTok Shabbat. Internet-style videos riffing off of the themes of different prayers. So again, yes, for in-person Shabbat, only the Tat Shabbat will be in person. The community candle lighting and family service will be online only, both because we are not quite in a place where we are ready for that in our area, and also because of the ability to present all of the wonderful offerings that the class has prepared for this terrific service. We will also be celebrating next week David Zangwill receiving his Aleph Award for Boy Scouts. So get excited. There's going to be a very exciting ceremony as part of that, as we hold the in-synagogue part of David's Court of Honor for his Aleph Award. Also coming up, not this coming Sunday, but a week from Sunday, the 11th of April, is our Yom HaShoah observance and program that will feature a speaker who is a Holocaust survivor, who we are bringing in partnership with Hey Mac. That event is going to be presented, live streamed here on YouTube. The link is already on our channel if you want to bookmark that. And also later in the month, on Friday the 16th, will be our first Shabbat Chavurah of the COVID-19 era. It will be online. It will be on Zoom. And Amy Goldberg-Alberts and Elisa Belzer have been brainstorming some wonderful creative things to bring Shabbat Chavurah back in April and in May, and perhaps even over the summer, or then certainly in the fall, in hybrid and in-person ways. So please watch for information in HaKesher, or for emails from either Amy or Elisa with details for our Shabbat Chavurah. That'll be the 16th. And then, no, that's not true. That'll be on the 23rd. There was a date change. On the 16th, there will be a speaker for Environmental Shabbat, sponsored by our Social Action Tikkun Olam committee. And watch for more information about that from Vivian Kane and Shelley Sanders. Sorry about that. The 16th is Environmental Justice Shabbat, and the 23rd is Shabbat Chavurah. And then last but certainly not least, on Saturday the 1st of May, we will be celebrating the bat mitzvah of Sophia Steinberg, and we are super excited to be celebrating with the Steinberg and extended Steinberg and Crespi families as Sophia becomes bat mitzvah on Saturday the 1st of May. And one final announcement. So you may have noticed from that beautiful rainbow Omer counter over there that Bina made that we are counting the Homer. The Omer. So the 49 days between Passover and Shavuot, each day we are looking for a different member of Or Hadash to count the Omer, to make a brief video saying the blessing and saying the day in either Hebrew or English or both. Rabbi Elise Wechterman and her family have raised the bar for all of us by saying it in Klingon as well. So if you are Spanish speakers, French speakers, Yiddish speakers, if you speak Vulcan, maybe we can one-up the Klingons over there from the House of Narenberg and Wechterman to count the Omer for us. One person each day, and there's a sign up for that that has been featured in the daily links each morning, that is in HaKesher, that is on Facebook, that I'm thinking of taking out a skywriter to also put up there. Yeah, so sign up for a day on Sign Up Genius, and all you need to do is take a selfie video of yourself counting the Omer, and then either text or email it right there from your phone. You don't even need to transfer it to a computer, to Greg Luce, and he'll post it on Facebook. And if you want it to appear without names or anything attached, just say that in your email to Greg. If you want it to be completely anonymous, and it totally will be. And so I want to thank the Zangwills and Pat Steinberg and the Wechterman Narenberg family, and Bina, and oh goodness, there was one other. Oh, and the Mermelsteins, who have already counted the Omer, that's O-H-M-E-R, for Or Hadash, and so so that we can all be counting together during this time where we are physically distanced. And so I think that those are quite enough announcements from me for one night. And so I want to close tonight's service as we say Shabbat Shalom from our home to your home with Shalom Aleichem, as sung by the voices of our Makela. And so from our home to your home, Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Elyon, Minei Melech, Malachei Malchim, Malachim Kadosh Baruch Hu. Malachei Hashem, Malachei Hashem,
And so from our home to your home, Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you all real soon. And Chag Sameach.